Good day, everyone. Good day, and another wonderful day with Adele. This is Adele part 2. Now, we already know about his story. He already had us crying. With everything he's gone through his life, and he's still successful. So this is what this podcast, this is what we do. We just show how people are still successful in adversity, and Adele has shown that in spades. But we have brought him on for the second time. The reason being because a few people said, I love his story, I love him, but I'd like to know a bit more on the copywriting side of things, the copy. And he's skillful. Let's know more about it. So, Adele, thank you for coming on, my man.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, nice to see you again. Now, we're just going to go with the flow as we usually do. They screamed at me, they sent me plenty of messages, and they want to know about your copy skill set. So Let's start from the top, right? So what were we supposed to know when it comes to good copy? What is the basics, the ABC, starting from the beginning, and then we'll grow from there?
Okay. All right. So this is going to be quite fun to do. Let's see. So the basics are it has to feel good and sound good. So there are two types of sales copy that really are traditional. There's brand copy, which is, hey guys, look at this background image and like this microphone I'm using. Isn't this microphone wonderful? Yeah, that's the microphone. Cool. That is basically as far as brand type sales copy goes. It's kind of like very like, look at the brand that it is and look at the price. Ta-da. No direct response to it. Direct response was very much like the grab them by the throat, throttle them, and hey, listen here, and listen here, mother effer, I'm going to tell you why you need to buy this thing, and they'll be like, okay, you've convinced me, it's the right thing, and most of the time people want the thing anyway, but it works because it gives them every reason under the sun. Or as my old mentor John Carlton used to say, there's two reasons people buy: the reason that they really buy, and the reason they tell their wife / brother-in-law that they buy. Because there's always that. Now you end up basically, so that's the basics of good copy, is really understanding that there's two diversities. There's nonchalant kind of BSE type sales copy, and then there's, hey, listen here, you need to go buy this thing. What I did and what's kind of occurred over the last 12-ish years is we've kind of transformed more into personal base story direct response copywriting, which is a combination of the two. So you kind of tell the story a little bit of what there is, because that's what brand does. It tells you a little bit of a story. Think of like a McDonald's ad or something like that. It tells a story, but doesn't tell you to go buy right away. So you tell a story and then you combine in all the elements that make people buy, like for instance, why they should buy, what needs to happen, and what goes on. And it's the essence of being a good salesperson. A good salesperson isn't just, having the gift of the gab and talking the shit. There's an element of that which does make good salespeople, but it's the quiet ones that also make a lot of money. Like the quiet ones are actually out. There's a higher number of quiet, successful salespeople than there are loud salespeople. Just the loud salespeople happen to have like a big mouth on them, like myself. What we do is we just love doing this shit. This is like our fun thing. So essentially, if you can do sales or any form of sales, you can effectively write copy because it's very simple to do. It's just, copywriters are not logical. Let's just put it that way. The copy is entirely emotionally driven. So the words, if you give it to an English teacher, they'll rip their hair out going, why is it written this way? What's going on? Why is there an ellipsis here? This is not how you write paragraphs. That doesn't matter, because what we're looking for is comprehension, retention, and action. Those are the three things that we're looking for. So step one is salesmanship in print, or salespersonship in print. Sales two, what we're looking for is for comprehension, retention of information, and action on said information. And the third step, quite simply, it's building out, it's your automatic salesperson, really. And the reason why AI doesn't really produce high converting copy, and everyone can come at me for this one, including my fellow copywriters who say, but AI is so good. It's bullshit comparatively to the norm. Seriously, if it's getting better, if it's writing better copy than you can, it's because you're a shit writer. It's not because it's better than most copywriters. It means that you're the shit writer. I'm just going to put that out there. That's essentially what it is. That was a dead-eye moment, because I've had actual other copywriters going, my copy converts better now. And I'm like, yeah, but I want to see what you used to write like, and I can guarantee you what you used to write like versus this, because I see your lineage. Yeah, it's bullshit. Like, AI writes better than you, and that's not a good thing.
I get you.
Because AI writes from logic. It doesn't write from emotion, because it's a program. It doesn't understand emotion. So that's why you got to edit AI copy. It's really good for the first draft, but then after that, you got to really edit the shit out, because it's got to have that feeling. And that's basically a third level where you can connect with someone on such a deep level, they get to know you and they can hear your voice through your writing. And that's kind of where you want to aim for when it comes to good copy. Is
Can I just stop you just quickly there with the AI situation? So what you're saying, AI is only good if you've got the writer's block thing, just to get you started, like a car that he's pushing, and then get it started again. And that is beyond that, it's time to get busy and start to get creative.
Use your brain and use your heart.
Yeah.
Because trust me, it's not like people can feel your words. They can really feel them.
No, I totally hear you. But there's a lot of copy that I'm starting to, and even on social media, you can tell an AI straight away, because the same old thing gets generated, right?
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, please carry on.
Oh, on what part? Where do we go from?
On the part from, right? So we got part of the AI. You're talking about the feel, and you're talking about you've got two types, very salesy, but you've got the quieters, right?
Okay, so like
build up.
So okay, so we've gone a few different places there. So just to summarize, you got to be good at sales. So you can be quite loud if you want, but you can also be quite quiet. Completely up to you. Salesmanship just means you're able to persuade someone to take an action that's beneficial for them using an ethical process, which is here's the thing that you want, and here's how you sell it, and here's how you buy it, and just expand out from that. And of course, that moves up to basically good copy, which is not grammatically rooted. It's all about the emotions, and we've talked over the AI thing. And now the next thing is basically making sure that people bond with you. And bonding with you really just comes down to like a myriad of different things, really. Like bonding with you is just people getting to know your habits and your emotions, which is why when you hire a copywriter, and this is what I tell people so much, they really need to get used to it. Hiring a copywriter is like hiring an actor to play you. They've got to be able to they've got to match your tone, they've got to match your mannerisms, they've got to like catch how you speak, so when they speak they sound like you, they have your cadence. Because if they don't do that, then what you're going to have is your entire list going, holy crap, who did they hire this time to write these ads or write this copy, because it doesn't sound like blank. And new people are going to have a feeling of a writer that doesn't sound congruent with who you are and how you present yourself. So there's going to be a disconnect there as well. So like you've got to make sure that when you hire a copywriter, make sure they can actually either stay in your company long enough to be you, or like me, are good enough to essentially become you over a short period of time and keep that character for 3 or 4 months. Because again, when I wrote as a copywriter, I didn't work retainers. I didn't like the retainer model as much because it felt like I was giving myself a job for too long. I like the excitement of constant new clients. I'm more of a project type of guy. I get paid more and it's a lot less work for me.
So would it be right to say it's a situation when you are going to try to look for a copywriter, it's a bit like finding a fitness trainer. Not everybody's right for you. You've just got to find someone that you're bonding with personality wise. You can't just pick anybody.
No, you can. You got to pick the right person. Yeah, you pick the person that can become you.
Okay.
Like, so what I'm saying is, look, the way that it used to work, the way it works today is copywriters today have become like a commodity in the corporate space, which is, I just hired you. You should know what you're doing. Go do your job. No, copywriting is and has always been, hey, you hired me. I've got to figure you out, and then I've got to write like you. So leave me the fuck alone while I get this thing done. And don't expect it to be done in a week. Do you know how long it takes to get into someone's character over for an actor? It takes them months of preparation. So give me a little goddamn time here to get used to you. I have other shit going on in my life. So you got to have that, like that corporate mindset of like now, done, tomorrow, blah. That has to fucking check the door, because that's who we're becoming in this industry. It's not something I like very much, because this industry was built on and has survived by freelance talent. In fact, the internet marketing space and the digital marketing space was pioneered by us. So for the corporate speak to come into the pioneering space and be like, well, you guys are doing it all wrong, we're going to tell you to go fuck yourself, because we will. Excuse the explicitives in this episode. There's quite a few, but it's quite true, because again, it's a passionate topic for me. This is something that I let my entire mask come off, and I do actually really go straight for what it is, because again, I've done this for so long. Remember, I've done this for 22, almost 23 years of my goddamn life at this. Like, it's a long time coming. But anyway, what
Okay,
I'm getting,
well, then look, if somebody wants to do it themselves, let's say someone's competent, and I'm not saying they're a
yeah.
copywriter, but somebody's actually put a landing page
Oh
together,
yeah, yeah.
and they need to start afresh, and they need to actually sell their services. I mean, let's have an example. Where should they start? Let's give us a practical example, so then the listeners exactly know how to start the process so they can do
Okay.
something successful for their pages.
I need a little bit of clarity here. What are we doing? Are we going like people that want to become copywriters, or people that want to write to that, or that want to write their own copy?
No, the people that want to write their own copy. So
Perfect.
there'll
Okay.
be plenty of
So,
listeners out there. They just want to write their own copy because
right.
they
Perfect.
can't afford a copywriter.
Wonderful. So this is what I was getting at. Just to wrap up my previous point, here's what I mean by it. Copywriters don't have to become a commodity, because once they get into your company and work with you long term, they basically become you, and it becomes very, very powerful. Now, to answer the question here about how you can write your own copy, and this is what I want to get at. If you're writing your own copy, don't do the thing that a lot of people I know do. They get really good at writing their own copy and then start calling themselves copywriters. Not the same thing. It's like being really good at taking selfies and
Yeah,
then
sure.
calling yourself a photographer.
I hear
It's
you.
a big difference,
It's a
right?
big difference because you
Right.
don't have
So
the diversity, right? You can't be
yeah,
diverse. You're specialized in yourself.
yeah, you only know how to do yourself.
Yeah.
So this is where we're going to. How do you write your own stuff? Well, it's really simple. Now, small plug for later on down the line, because I'm going to sell you this idea a little bit later. And that is basically, I've gone through and created an encyclopedia for all types of copy to be written, so you actually can go through your own pace. But if you're doing it yourself, if you were literally like, I don't want to pay for anything, I want to keep on my own thing, I'm just going to go and try and do it myself, you need to make sure that you understand how headlines, subheadlines, and bullet points work, because this is quite key. Bullet points, everything I'm saying is not like at school where a headline is basically just like the title text. A headline has to be something that captures the attention, but it doesn't have to be sensationalized, because hype kills sales. You've got to be less hypey, and don't, yeah, hype always kills sales. Why would, it's just like, it's such a bogus thing to put out there. Like, hype actually triggers the bullshit meter more times than possible. Like, clickbait works, but it's usually muted hype. Um, but have you noticed it never stays? Like, the staying power disappears. The reality is a lot more beneficial and things that people can repeat. Like, one of the most famous headlines is "They all laughed until I sat down at the piano." Or sorry, they all sat down. They all laughed when I sat at the piano, but they shut up the moment I started playing.
Mm.
Yeah, those are like are famous headlines. Or it could be there's just so much out there. I'm trying to think, like, what was it, the two men, which surprisingly is not one of the most best pulling headlines, but it's one of the longest pulling headlines because it was a consistent winner, by the Wall Street Journal, which is the tale of two was it the tale of two men. One buys the Wall Street Journal, the other one doesn't. They both started off the same age, and then they left, and then eventually one ended up becoming a giant at the Wall Street Journal. The other one was the guy that owned it, or something like that. Well, a CEO of a company, and the difference was one read the Wall Street Journal, the other one didn't. That was basically it, is what they were saying. So your headline has to be beneficial towards what you're doing. So if it's a service, why is it they need, like, what is the driving action that you want people to take? Is it to buy something from you? Is it to book a call with you? Is it to give you their name and email address?
Yeah, let's I'll tell you what, let's create a persona, because I think that will make it easier for us to go
Well,
forward.
I was going to do all three
Okay,
because they're all
cool.
different, because
Perfect.
they're really simple, but they're different. So you got to be a little bit clever here. So we can do that in a second anyway. But like, I just want to answer this question. So if you have someone that is looking to just get a name and email address for an opt-in, you want to have your headline become beneficial, like discover how you can discover the greatest opt-in formula of all time, and then your subheadline is a call to action. We just enter your name and email address, and you'll to enter your name and email address below, and I'll send you this video, this 7-minute video that will transform the way you write opt-in pages forever. Boom. No, giving you a perfect headline, giving you a perfect subheadline, told you exactly what to do. You can repeat that, you know what you're getting, and it makes complete sense. And there's a timer on there as well to tell you exactly how long it's going to take to get through. Then I'm going to give you 3 bullet points, which is essentially on the left-hand side, the bullet points would actually cover, 2 of them would cover exactly what's inside the video, or 4 of them if it's a full bullet point one, and the third or the fifth would be and so much more. And there's a psychological reason behind this, which we'll get into in a moment. But essentially, the bullet points would read something along the lines of, again, for the same opt-in, which is this greatest opt-in thing that I've created. It would be something along the lines of a proven formula that has worked for over 12 years and generated an average of 50% conversion rate on opt-in pages. That could be bullet point one. Bullet point two is takes less than 5 minutes to implement. Change your opt-in pages today. Boom, and so much more, something like that. And then of course on the right hand side is the name and email address, or just email address. And then my little secret weapon, again, like you can put that on there as is, and you can go Optin to find out what the secret weapon is if you wanted. But that would be if you're doing the free giveaway, beneficial headline, call to action, bullet points, Optin. If you're doing something for your services where you're trying to get people to actually book in for a quote, get a discovery call, do something like that. I lean more towards a video, but you could do a text only, which is let's say you're a coach of some kind, or if you're a business owner of some kind, and like you tried to, actually, let's just say you're a tradie, like you're someone that works in the trades. You can do something simple as a plumber. It could be for your services. It could be and you notice a lot of people that have like the same plumbing issue, like with block taps or whatever it is, or they've got a drain, they've got a clogged drain, and it's just the same thing in so many places that you're currently seeing for whatever reason. Like something that's quite common that a lot of people get wrong, because that's just oil buildup. What you could do is just put together a quick little thing, which is like, we're going to offer you, like, let us check your drains completely for free. Like, we're happy to come out and check your drains to make sure that everything is well and everything's working. Enter your name and email address below to book your slot and your time. Boom, there we go. Now you're generating free leads for people that want to actually just get their drains checked. People who get the drains checked, by the way, you're most likely going to find something. So you just basically generate a quote right there and give it to them.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
That's one way for doing it tradies. Now, if you're doing it for coaches online and stuff like that, you can just say something along the lines of, and by the way, the tradies thing is like, give us your name and email address and we'll send you like how to book your quote. Boom, there we go. Benefits are get your drains checked completely for free, have someone be there just in case you need any work done, and so much more. And we'll send and so much more. Boom. You can go to 5 bullet points on that one. We'll go with 3. Done. Easy. Now, if you're looking at if you're a coach, really simply, a coach of any kind, even like a business coach, for instance, you could have something along the lines of, and it's a discovery call you want to have with them. It could be, the headline could be, I help business owners get out of their own way in 15 minutes or less by showing them their most obvious block. ... If you want to find out what yours is, enter your name and email address below to book a 15-minute phone call with me. In this 15-minute phone call, we're going to figure out your biggest block. We're going to show you how to get around it very quickly. We're going to go through this step by step of the 3 simple systems that you should have in place. We're going to check your 3 systems that you already have in place and see if they're actually helping you get to where you are, or if they're keeping you stagnant, and so much more. And then you got your name and email address opt-in ready to go. Boom, you've got people basically signing up to have a free phone call with you for your discovery. Now, I usually like to go video here, and I actually get people to do, hi, my name is so-and-so, this is what I do, blah, blah, blah. Here's the exact thing that I'm actually offering you, why it's only for 15 minutes. Here's what we're going to look at getting to the bottom 2. Give me your name and email address below, and here's what's going to happen next. Go do this thing. See you on the other side. Boom. That's basically the outline of your sales pitch for your freebie. Like, it's really easy to do. Now, again, the last version, again, so you got services that are completely paid. Like paid services, you just change out the entire thing I said at the end about like, go give us your name and email address for free, switch it out to tell them how to buy from you, and then that's simply it. But like, your opt-in page should always be the thing that gets people in as your lead source.
Interesting. I mean, there's so much information you've given us there.
Yeah,
can we just go back to video, because you was talking about video, and as you was going on, you said actually video is quite powerful. Now, how powerful is video? Is it worth doing compared to just doing text?
Always. always worth testing. Like that's the thing I always tell people: test. I don't have the video opt-in on my website because I don't need one. But like for anything that I'm doing that is service based, like consulting or something like that. Sorry, my camera just went off there. Speaking of video, for consulting and stuff like that, it will just naturally come up. Oh wow, I might actually have to change out, guys. I might actually have to change to a lesser camera quality because I didn't prepare today for my actual interview, which was a first for me.
And this is live, everybody. This is live. You know, this is live when things like this happen, right?
Oh yeah. The information is actually key. So give me one moment, guys. I will be right back. I'm just going to quickly make a quick change. Hold on.
And as I said, as you can see, we are live. So these things will happen. And also already, we've only been on for a very long, well, a very short time, I should say. And the amount of information he goes through is absolutely ridiculous. It's like a encyclopedia, literally.
Hold on 1 second.
So we'll wait for him to come back.
And there we go. We're back to a different setup of the room, which is slightly...
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. Right. So as we was talking about, videos. So how powerful is the video side of things? As you said, for certain things, it's quite powerful, especially.
Yeah, especially
for consulting.
I do it for like anything that I'm selling as a service. If I'm doing a service-based pitch, which is hire me as someone that you're paying a service to, like copywriting, graphic design, consulting, video marketing itself, social media management, anything that you're doing that is a service to another, go with video. It's really easy, especially that most of the time, if you're shy on video, you can use words, but with video, it's really easy to do. It's very much, here's who I am. Here's why I'm known. Here's why I want you to work with me, or here's why I want you to opt in, or whatever it is. Go here and check it out. Because if people can see you, they know that you're real. They can actually look at your tonality. There's a vocal pattern recognition based on how your vocals sound. And people actually visualize whether or not they can work with you. And that is kind of like the elements that go into how those pieces are done, which is why you want to use video for selling stuff like that, because it becomes easier to sell to people. People actually end up becoming it becomes an easier sell at a higher price, if that makes sense.
So basically, this negates trust. This is something that helps with trust massively, because they can see you eyeball to eyeball, hear the tone of your voice,
and
all these other things. Now, excuse me, does the length of time of that video matter? Can it be too long? Can it be too short? What's the data on that?
So it really depends, like entirely depends. Yeah, I actually think a lot of people go either too long or too short. And what I mean by that, they both go too long and too short. Some people don't give enough information, which is really annoying, and other people talk way too fucking much. So you got to know where that midpoint is. So the way I do it is really simple. I actually don't use a script, because I have the scripts in my head, so I know how they all work. I just try and aim for a time limit where it's like, I'm just going to go and see what comes out. Or if you want, you can rehearse it with bullet points, or you can write a whole script out if you wanted. I'm a bullet point thinker. Like, I'll write things out on bullet points and be like, I want to get this to this to this to this.
Same here.
And then I just go. Yeah. I just go. I understand, as long as I mention the thing I need to mention, I'm good. Like, as long as I talk about like why you got to hire me, what's happening in your business, why it's possible, the 3 situations that I actually help with most, who I'm looking to work with, here's what you do next, here's the price point, and here's why. As long as I hit those kinds of points, I'm good. But video is extremely powerful, just simply because it is the one that actually creates the greatest amount of trust between you and the person immediately. And if they're willing to watch a video of you, they're willing to talk to you. If they're willing to talk to you, they're willing to buy from you.
Totally. No, I totally get that massively. So so we've spoken about the length of the video. Does anything like the quality of the video matter, the production of the video, or is it just really the content?
Okay, so this is a perfect opportunity for this because my quality of video has drastically dropped, as you've seen. We've gone from a very high quality finish to essentially a MacBook camera with a
Mm-hmm.
fuzzy background, which I gotta admit does not look terrible. I'm actually quite happy with this.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm getting at is you can still hear me.
Mm.
So my video won't matter as much because you can hear me. Now, nothing, and I mean nothing, forgives bad audio. That's
Yeah.
a point. I'm sorry I've messed up your audio recording right there, guys.
No, no, no,
That
no.
was on
You're
purpose.
totally right. You're totally
That
right.
that bad audio recording will
Yeah.
actually be unforgivable by most people's standards. Like if
Mm-hmm.
it's all the way throughout, once or twice is fine. But if the whole thing is like
Mm-hmm.
scuffed, you're like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not listening to this. I don't need to know this information. They can redo this is all I get.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so your audio quality matters more than your video quality, but a decent video quality works. You have an iPhone, you have a Google phone, you have something that's an Android, you have a decent camera on your phone, basically. You can shoot video on it.
Totally. No, no, I get that. I mean, when I'm speaking to with my clients or I'm making demonstrations, what I've noticed, nobody really cares when it comes to the quality of the video. All they care about is the content of your video, your message, how you come across. And I've learned that by doing pin sharp quality, videos or ad hoc videos, and still people still love my stuff. It's because of the content. That's all they care about. The message is important. So it's interesting to hear you say that.
Yeah.
Right, bullet points. I'm a great believer in bullet points because I use them massively in my life. I use them to break down information to make it very clear, and then I can help what kind of communicate between other people. It's so much easier to communicate. But I also use it also to break down. So if I'm, for instance, doing a podcast and I need to, lay out some information for that, it's very easy. Now, when it comes to your landing page, copy, etc., you talk about bullet points. There could be overkill with bullet points, and you can underdo it. What are we talking? How many bullet points are we talking about on average? You should be doing within the page. Do you do 10?
Depends on what
Do 5, 3, 1? What do you do on average?
it depends on the page.
Okay.
Like, is it a sales page? Is it a video sales letter? Is it a webinar? Is it a landing page? Is it a blog post? Is it a podcast summary? It really just depends on how long the piece of content is. Now, here's the thing. Sales letters, for sure, you want to use many bullet points. You want to use bullet points every so often to summate what you're doing. I use them for summating what's inside my course elements. I don't summate them for like the points I'm making because my points are pretty fucking clear. Some people need to use them in certain areas to actually like sum up entire places that are quite technical. Like for instance, if they actually go, they give a lot of information, they can say, so this basically means bullet point A is, bullet point B is, bullet point C is, which means bullet point D equals this thing. So that's one way of doing it. But most of the times you should be using bullet points as often as you can, but then you don't want to overdo it on a sales page or do it on, not a sales page, you don't want to overdo it on a short page where there's so many bullet points that they just are short, like they're 3-word bullet points. So sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. You want to use a bullet point to summarize something and then give people an insight on your thinking of the summary, and that's where the parentheses and the italic style writing comes in, which actually explains that. So for instance, it could be the 3 little secrets that no one wants you to know about copywriting, hyphen, and then in italics, and I'm going to tell you because I've always wanted to tell others. That right there just sounds like the author telling you an inside look into their theory of why they're doing what they're doing. So there's loads of little things like that that you want to be aware of how you do in bullet points. Because bullet points for sales writing are not like bullet points for regular things. Yes, they summate things, but they have to be written in a way that allow other people to either see what's inside the writer's mind or the author's mind, as well as actually being future paced into the next situation. So it could be like the 3 pitfalls every business owner faces and the copywriter's inside trick to get over them quickly.
Wow.
So like, yeah, there's just like little things like that you can play with.
So when we come into a page, we dealt with video and bullet points. Now, does the structure of the page, so when I talk about structure, about the structure of the writing, so you've got bullets, paragraphs, etc. Now, does that come into play?
Massively.
Really?
Oh, entirely. Are you kidding me? Like, seriously, comprehension is such a big thing that people don't realize. It pisses me off. Like, it really does. Um,
All right.
First of all, center text throughout your entire sales letter and your entire website is just dumb, in my opinion. I know some people that do it, and I know that they do it for a design reason, but it's dumb to me because it doesn't just look unprofessional, it becomes really hard to read.
Yeah.
Because like different length sentences kind of do this constantly.
And when he
And by
says
that,
this, it's going in and out, that kind of thing.
constantly, yeah, like imagine like the copy just widens and shrinks. It starts to mess with your mind, and you can't read every single bit of it because it starts to really bug you, because sometimes you can reread the same the same section, especially if it's coupled with the dumbest thing, in my opinion, which is writing school length paragraphs, which is 2 to 3 sentences blocked together. You don't want to do that. You want to go one. The reason they used to do that before the internet, by the way, with copywriting, was because they had to, because newspapers gave them a certain amount of space they could actually advertise in. It's very important, very expensive to put an ad out back in the day in the newspaper, because that's how you get your advertising out. With the internet, you now have your own media that you can build out how it looks and really run it yourself. So don't skimp out on space, but don't overdo it on space. One sentence paragraphs are your best friend. Left align is your best friend, unless it's a headline, a subheadline, something you're calling out, or an order button, or something that you want to stick out as a quote that will be very, very helpful, because then they can actually read it. It actually creates the dynamic effect of going, well, this is a pattern interrupt I can look outside of. Which is a big thing. Also, making sure your page is readable, making sure the colors are actually complementary. Ugly sales pages kick the shit out of like pretty sales pages 99% of the time, because they're easier to read, but make sure the formatting is correct. So for instance, your headlines, your subheadlines have to be a certain size. They can work in certain colors. Right? But a lot of people don't do the color thing anymore, where it used to be like black headline, red subheadline was how we used to run it, or you go red headline, blue subheadline, you test all these different colors out. And you just play around with everything, with where the photo goes, how your sentence structure should look like, what your paragraphs and how long they need to be. So it's one sentence, like how long until you hit certain points of the sales letter. Where your bullet points are resided, how they're basically alternating from bold and unbolden. There's so many little tricks and hacks and stuff like that you want to play with, because you can't repeat the same pattern throughout the sales letter. You got to change the patterns up, so you have, like, at any given point, you're working with about 5 to 10 different design elements that you're constantly changing for every single time you use them.
Okay, so let's go back to the two things that I heard you say. One is readable and ugly. Now let's start with readable. What do you mean by readable? Because the listeners think, oh, well, I
Black
do
page,
what's that?
black page, white writing, not fun to read. It hurts your eyes. Secondly, I mean, sometimes it works, but it does hurt your eyes, let's be honest. That's someone who likes that. I like the black page with the white writing. It just fucking hurts. But as far as it goes, though, with readability, quite simply, like, you want to use a good font. Use a font that is easy to read. Like, don't put something up in cursive, because most people don't know how to read in cursive anymore. And cursive online is not the same as cursive in person. So make sure that it's readable, like a serif or a sans serif. I mean, hell, Helvetica or Times New Roman or even Arial, 3 really easy pieces of copy, like, you can write with, the work really well. It's also, the font does dictate to which income bracket you're speaking to. The more affluent they are, the more I think it's a sans serif that you need to use.
Okay, tell us more about that. So you're saying that depending who you're targeting will depend on the type of font. So let's have 3 targets: mid, lower range, higher range. So you've got people. So give me 3 targets and what those fonts look like.
Okay, so you'd use something that looks like more like a Times New Roman for the higher income class.
Okay.
Or a Helvetica, just simply because it kind of is more of, it's traditionally seen as like the independent reader, the smart thinker, the one that has money. It kind of like aims towards the financial well-to-do. So you're basically mimicking what they're used to reading. Now, if you go with more middle or lower class, or even lower end, middle income, whatever it is, all the different classes, from upper class below, it's basically Helvetical, do you find, as will Arial, just simply because there are people that don't have money that do read the independent, that do like reading. Of course they do, like a lot of money. I mean, like an obscene amount, not obscene, but like an amount of money that would be considered affluent. They mostly would read that. So that's what they're doing. But some people in the middle classes read that. Some people in the low classes read that because they're actually, you know, reading on the way up. So you can totally run it. But traditionally, I'd go with like a Times New Roman for the high-end affluent. Then from the middle and below that, it would literally be Helvetica Arial works well. Just don't go Comic Sans. No one wants to be Comic Sans. Like, don't do that. Like, just make it look nice. Like, make it look readable. And if you want to see where you can actually find this, just Google what is the most common font for books, for like book consumption.
Okay.
And for nonfiction book consumption, and whatever comes up, you can actually like start putting those up there. Because believe it or not, a nice looking font will make something quite nice to read. It makes it very easy to read. Like, it makes it pleasurable.
Okay, so let's go in a different direction. Now, a lot of our listeners will use different formats to read to do copy. What I mean by different formats, we got landing pages, but also we've got emails. We could be sending out on emails, or we can be sending out documents where you can just be sending out documentation, just docs to clients, whatever the case is. What is the difference, if any? How does that affect your copy, if any, between those different formats?
Oh, there's so many differences. Like, you can't use all the sales letter formats inside an email. Each email would be like 20 pages long. So you want to basically make sure you take the elements that are email centric. And put it this way, the best description that we have for email series is turning the sales letter sideways. Like, you take each element and you write an element out and you basically turn it to a sideways sales letter, as Jeff Walker used to talk about. That's one way of doing emails. But
Okay.
there are like,
Hold on. Let me just
hold on. Don't. I was going to say, Eli, let's not stop there, because if we stop there, we're going to lose the next thing I need to say, which I believe is where you're going to.
All right. Okay.
There are also 7 types of emails that need to be written. There are 7 different story formats. So you got to understand how to do the story formats, how email communication work, and also the design of the emails. Now, what was the question that you had for me?
Sideways. You were talking sideways. What does that mean when you're talking about
a sideways sales letter is you take all the elements in a sales letter and you just turn them sideways. So instead of like being, hey, here it is all in one 27-page document, it's turned sideways. So there's 27 emails that can go out from it. Yeah.
See, now that's the thing, is the listeners wouldn't have known that. So now that makes sense. So breaking it down from there. So you was talking about design and etc. Let's go further and deeper into that, which is what you was talking about.
I was going to say design elements aren't really much to be talked about with emails. I'm more of a classic plain text kind of guy. I write my emails. I just make sure that they're readable, they're at the right font size, and they go out to my mailing list. I don't do anything fancy with them. Some people can add photos. Some people can add logos and designs if they wanted to. But realistically, for me, that's just too much pomp and circumstance that doesn't need it. It's only going to slow your email size down. And I'd rather use the extra kilobytes that actually go into sending that logo out as text. In my opinion, that's just how I like to write. Now, the second, and this is kind of where it gets really important for you, is you can't use the same principles in an email in a sales letter. Some elements you can, but you need to write longer pieces for sales pieces. That's another thing. Video sales letters there's elements that will be moved around from the sales letter format to make sure that video sales letters are done a certain way. And of course, you're speaking, so your voice has to be correct with that. In writing, you have different elements. In speaking, you got to basically write as you would speak and then speak as you would write. Then you have like shareholder documents. If you're sending stuff out, that's different because that's very technical writing. That wouldn't be classed under copywriting. If you were a copywriter that was writing for the financial markets, and again, you had to be someone that wrote the shareholders document every 3 months or like every 6 months, or even year, annual could be. All you would do is you just sit down and basically start from the start point of like what the wins were, what the mission statement is, what benefits there are, what actually ended up happening, what you're planning to do in the future, and how it's all kind of going forward. But you don't really need anything on the salesmanship side of it because it's not sales at that point. It is, but it's more like you just want to make sure that you keep truthful and honest to what there is. You don't need a lot of fancy sales techniques to actually write a shareholder document agreement or a revenue report, if you will. You don't need a lot of skill for that.
A huge amount of information. Obviously, listeners, as you can already tell, this man knows his stuff inside out. He talks like like you can't believe it. The amount of information he spurs out is just amazing. So, I mean, we've talked about the format when it comes to email. We talk about landing pages. What else could the listeners do with as tips to be able to write their own content in a positive way?
Okay, so the easiest stuff I can tell anyone to do, and it's really simple, is speak like basically transcribe your words whenever you speak them. So if you get to a point you're like, how do I just sell this thing that I want to sell? How do I persuade people? Just write the damn thing. Sometimes that's all that really matters, is that you just gotta get out of your own head and write the damn thing. And the first draft of it is just going to be like, I want you to give me money because this is an amazing thing. Okay, write that a little bit further. Okay, I want you to give me money because this product is absolutely incredible. Okay, write it again. Why is the product incredible? What's this? And you keep going until you chisel away until you get the thing that you need written. That's one way. Another is you can use AI to actually do the research for you, which is fine, but then you want to start beating and refining on it. You want to make it sound like you want to read it out loud. You want to do, once you finish your final draft, let it sit, come back to it, read it out loud, see where you made mistakes that don't sound like you, edit it again. And you keep doing this until you got to a point where you feel comfortable, and then you just run it to the marketplace, and then the marketplace will tell you whether or not you did a good job.
I mean,
Like they're the ones that will be voting with their feet.
one technique I use, and you can tell me whether this is valid or not. One technique I use is if I use AI and I'm getting a bit of block, I bring out the information. I then will say to the AI, thank you for the information, break it down in bullet points. Bam. And it's got it in bullet points. Then I would word it in the way that I would word it by using the information in the bullet points, and then it becomes natural. Rather than if you use AI for all the information, you end up just editing a few words and that's it, which is not enough to make it sound natural. So that's the kind of thing I would say to the listener. What do you think about that, Adele?
Oh, I entirely agree. That's the process I tend to use whenever I get people to do it. If they're doing bullet points, it's figuring out what your process is for processing information, if you will. Like for me, auditory is my functionality, which is how I take in as much information as I can. But something just to like add on to what you were saying, Grab, when you're actually creating your own copy, it's easier to do it once you have a template and an understanding of how the advertising works. Once you know that, it's really simple. Like I tell people, how do I put it? Everything I've developed in all my training has always been developed to make it easy for you to follow. Like the steps are easy to follow. It's now you just got to do them over and over and over again. It's like if I taught you how to play the G chord on a ukulele. It's a very weird finger positioning. It really is. It took me a good 6 months to actually go from C to G. It was the weirdest thing ever. And there's a reason I'm telling you this, because my fingers went from like unable to form the shape to now it can just naturally form the shape as is. It just sits in that position. I'm like, cool. That it does do that. Now with copy, when you're writing emails, when you're writing sales letters, whenever you're writing anything, even if you have a proven format, which again my system is, you'll still stumble through some areas and then you just got to work on it to refine it. The difference is you're not going to look like an idiot doing it. It's the same as going to a boxing gym and trying and like a regular gym and having like like just shadow boxing, thinking what boxing is without any real clue, apart from what you've seen in like Rocky movies, versus actually sitting down with a boxing trainer as they show you how to throw the jab, how to throw the right hand, what a hook looks like, how an uppercut's supposed to look like, how you move your body around, what your feet should be positioned as. There's a difference.
Of course.
So, and then at that point, once you've actually worked with that trainer, you just repeat, you just rinse and repeat until it becomes smooth and easy. That's the same thing with the stuff that I teach about the training. Is basically have a format that works well, copy it down, refine it until it becomes easy for you to do.
Yeah, and just like anything, listeners, when you can do this stuff by yourself, and it's totally possible. But if you want to shorten the process, you want to shorten the time, the pain, it's best to have someone that you can have a mentor or a course or something just to help you just go in a right direction. And Adele is, as you can hear, he knows his stuff, and if you have the time, if you have the small resources, it's always best to learn from someone that's already gone through that pain. So then you're in a position that you can, actually shorten the time it's going to take you to learn the trade yourself, to do it for yourself. Adele, the amount of information you got is just amazing. Where are you going next on your journey? What's happening? Because I know you're doing some great things. You're doing a podcast yourself, aren't you?
Yep. Still recording episodes of the greatest business podcast ever at the moment. I've got a few other things that are working in the background that I'm actually for the next. So we're recording this around the end of April, start of May, around that time. Until about, I'd say June, I'd say about until mid-July. I'm just going to be busy with like some client stuff. I'm going to try and get some trips in here, there, and everywhere. But there's some client stuff I've just got to make sure that I'm keeping on top of while I'm away. But yeah, not much else. Like, just travel, work, get the membership stuff up because there's so much stuff to get done with it. There's the podcast. And oh, I forgot, I'm also helping a friend with a movie script. So that's actually another fun thing to do. Yeah. Fun side of things is I actually like to produce a lot of videos for other people. So like actually help them out with it. Because again, I'm a movie nerd through and through.
So am I. Oh, I never knew that. Now I like you. I didn't secretly.
You
I
didn't like me
before, but I like you. I like you now. Now you like videos. I like you now.
Oh god, no! I'm a huge movie nerd. Like genuinely, like I just love how scripts are all put together and how they all work and how the direction of camera work all goes in. Like it's a personal. It's part of like how I realize a lot of marketers play the guitar. I play the ukulele because of course I love fucking ukulele. I do have a guitar, but I play the ukulele more. But I also love movies because movies teach you a lot about how people think, behave, what they're doing, what they're not doing, and what goes on behind people's minds. It's very, very fascinating.
Totally. Even down to the music. The music is what I prefer the most. The score music, it actually makes you feel that emotion at that particular time. I was a sound engineer and a studio engineer. So, I love the movies and the way it makes you feel and cry and the emotions and the world in it. Amazing.
Who's your favorite sound composer for movies?
That's now, have you watched Predator?
Of course.
So the composer that does that.
Wait, which Predator are you on about? The Arnie version or
the Arnie version?
I actually don't know, but I do love his soundtracks because he also, if I remember correctly, he also did the score to Commando.
Oh no, that's a film. And listen, this is let's not talk about because I could go on about films forever. I mean, we can go back into the 70s with those kung fu films. Badly. When they you bastard, the words were terrible, but were they? Let's see. This is what happens now. You got two film buffs talking together. We'll be here all day, so I'm going to try and be disciplined, listeners, and we'll try not to go into the film side of things because I am a film buff, just like Adele. I think we'll have to do this off camera.
For sure.
Otherwise, we'll be going in the wrong direction.
No. So Alan Silvestri didn't do Predator. He did Predator, but he didn't do Commando. I actually got him confused, but he did do a few other ones as well. I'm really
he did a lot. He did lots of it. Alan, he's one of my favorite composers.
That's really cool. He also did Judge Dredd, which honestly, I'm not a fan of that movie. But if you ever,
I thought that was quite good.
Okay.
I think
no.
I think Sylvester was the wrong person to play the part.
I think this. Okay, just as a side note for listeners out there, if you are a fan of the Dredd movie, like Judge Dredd, do yourself a favor, go watch Dredd with Carl Urban, which was released in 2010 or 2012, and then you'll see the difference between a good Dredd movie and a bad Dredd movie, because Carl Urban is the man for the actual movie. Like, he does a great job. If you've not seen it, the world building in it is incredible. The musical score in it is incredible. It's so well done. Like, genuinely one of the best movies that should have had a sequel, but didn't. Wow. Oh, I didn't realize that Alan Silvestri ended up taking care of all the Marvel Phase 1 and 2.
Yeah, like, that was him. He did quite a lot, actually. He did amazing. Yeah. I mean, there's so many of them, but yeah, I'm a score person. I will sleep to score music. But I'm just one of those people. Yeah, no, and the guitar, I've got a 12-string guitar,
Oh,
and that's
nice.
something. I've got a 12 and a 16-string guitar. The thing is, I can't go back to the 6 because once you've played the 12, even though it's very difficult, the sound of it is absolutely amazing. So,
Really?
and yeah, and I just can't go back to 6. So as soon as I start playing the 6, yeah, nah, I'll go back to 12 because the fullness, the richness is another thing altogether. But we digress. We
We do
digress.
digress.
We
Thank you
do.
again for having me. I really
Oh,
appreciate you
look,
having me
listen,
on.
it was a pleasure. The main thing is that we got to a stage where you talked more technically when it comes to copywriting, and the listeners wanted to know more of that. And I think you've given us that in spades. No two ways about it. Now, how can they catch you? I know you're doing a podcast and everything else, and I'm going to ask you about this actually. Your podcast what is it themed around? Is it themed on your copywriting, or is it?
No,
Or
it's
we
business.
just
It's business podcasts. So
right?
like you have there's 3 shows a week that we're gonna be launching with 1 and then 2 and then 3.
Cool.
It's gonna start off with like just 20 minutes a week with me,
Right.
which is really cool. And then we're gonna add in a 90-minute interview with an expert, which someone that you would have actually heard of or know of in the industry.
Mhm.
Whether that's in the marketing space, whether that's actually in the outside real business space, just like we're going to try and get who we can and build that up. And then finally on Wednesdays, we're going to introduce what we call the underground. And the underground is people who are really, really great at what they do, but you don't really know them because they keep behind the shadows. And we're going to be bringing those people out as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun, but the whole show's entire premise is it's for small business owners and people who want to be entrepreneurial.
Mhm.
So think like Diary of a CEO, but like the greatest business podcast ever. Like that's what we're doing here. Like it's literally just go out there and do as many interviews as possible and just start getting it up and running.
Yeah. Okay. So it's something that I think the listeners should.
Oh,
So
they would love it. They'll love
yeah,
it.
definitely, definitely. I'll put all the information down below. So Adele will give me everything that's needed so you can all connect with him. And he is a man definitely to connect with. And also, he's got a few mini courses going on.
Yeah.
Tell us about this mini courses.
So I essentially got the idea about a year ago that I didn't want there to be any gatekeeping towards copywriting knowledge. So as I've mentioned before, like my courses are designed in frameworks and easy to apply. So basically anyone can do it. I am neurodiverse as shit as can be. So I basically make sure that everything is easy to apply. As I said, it's all about getting the basics down and then it's repetition until you got smoothness. So right now we have everything you need to get started with Optin for, or like how to create Optin pages, how to create your welcome sequence, how to create an upsell and a downsell, how to create a sales letter. So those 4 big things are actually all covered immediately, especially with other stuff as well that we've got in there. So if you want to be a copywriter, you can be. If you don't want to be a copywriter, but you want to have copy written on your website, you can go through this training really quickly. And that's like, we have we basically do it $300 a quarter, or if you want an annual discount, it's $1,000 for the annual, which is a great thing because we're also adding in, well, I'm currently adding in stuff on video sales letters, list reactivation, webinars. That's all being up there. And then of course Q3, which is in July, I believe. I'm releasing all my launch stuff. So literally how to do a product launch from start to finish. All the templates around that are going to be up there, including what type of emails to send out and everything else. Again, like I said, this is a lot of value for like 1/15 of the price, which is ridiculous. Because again, all this stuff is made over $1 billion for people. Or if you want to actually start with something really, 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 really small, which will fix your business and everyone else's, you can pick up the greatest welcome sequence, which you can find on greatestcopywriteralive.com. And then if you just go up there, you'll see welcome sequence. It's $97. It's dead easy to go through. If anything, it will help you write better welcome sequences for your business. So if someone opts in, if someone pays you, if someone was on your podcast, you can actually upload a welcome sequence that sends out to that person that turns them from just someone that you met one time to someone that just got a quote to someone that can get to know you, like you, trust you, and potentially buy from you if you're the right fit. So yeah, there's all those things. And
Cool.
again, you can just find all this on greatestcopywriteralive.com.
All
Or if you
right.
have any questions, you can reach out to me on Instagram at Amarsi. Just let me know that you found me here so I can say hello to you.
All right, cool. So I'll leave all that information. You've heard it here. I'll leave all that information down below, and then you'll be able to contact him. Adele, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you, my man.
Oh, thank you for having me, Eli. I really appreciate being here. Thanks, guys.
And to everybody else, thank you for being with us, and we will speak to you again very soon. And I hope you have the most wonderful day, and sayonara.
See you later, guys.